So hello, welcome to another episode of Flying High with Flutter. I'm your host, Alan Wyma. Today we have Dmitry Zhifarsky with us from DCM. DCM is a static analysis tool for Dart. Welcome, Dmitry. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I could be better. As I said, I'm still settling into my new studio, and it's been painful, as you know. This is like the second time I restarted my computer, trying to get this thing to work. So hopefully things will get settled in.
Yeah.
But coming back to the main topic, right? I've never heard of this tool before, so I'm pretty sure I'm probably not the only one. It is a kind of a, I mean, the amount of people working on it, I saw in your article. So maybe we kind of roll back a little bit. I saw your article on Reddit
Mhm.
talking about that it's going to be no more free version. It's a paid version only, right?
Mhm. Right.
Yeah, that's a pretty big change, right? Because considering that Dart and Flutter community is very much like an open source, non-paid. Most things I think within Dart are like that, and so going from, like free version to a paid version is a pretty big jump, right? So it'd be interesting to hear more about DCM. Why would I want to use it? And kind of like the history of it and things like that. Because yeah, like I said, it's totally new to me.
Okay.
And it's a static analysis tool. Now everybody knows about that, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm also think that marketing is not my best side, so I'm more than sure that a lot of people don't know about the tool, don't know what it can do, how it can help. So I'm ready to answer and provide all the info I can. So let me then start with my background a bit, so that people kind of know what is my story. Let's say. So my first interaction with Dart started at Ripe, where Ripe is a company that still have, even though they are migrating to TypeScript, and I'm participated partially in this decision to migrate from Dart to TypeScript, they still have a lot of Dart code, like maybe 2 million lines of code in Dart Angular, and that's where my like first interaction with Dart happened, and I really liked the language since then. I think it's really easy to start with. It's before that, my main background is the front end, and I worked a lot with JavaScript and TypeScript and etc. So it was really easy to start with Dart from with this background, and actually it kind of felt like natural, felt really easy and to understand and to learn. So there at Rike, I was like a senior front-end engineer and then an architect. And this is the place where DCM first was created. And it even originally was in the Rike repository, but then when me and another person who started it left, we took the project like to another organization so we can continue developing it. So the project was created initially like 3 years ago, and since then I left Rike. I worked in a company that develops browser as a front-end lead, and mainly was focused on helping to remove the custom framework they had to a more standardized like industry solutions. And we did a great job, but the idea that I need to try to actually push DCM forward, not just being a side project, but an actual product, was stuck in my head. And for all this time, I was considering like different different monetization models, how it can be just not just an open source project, but something more like a product with a stable model, etc. So, and in December last year, I decided that, okay, I think I need to try. I need to try and see where it goes. And here we are. DCM, like for 6 months now, have a new version called the Teams version. And just recently, we also created an individuals version based on the Teams, but with fewer features. And as you mentioned before, we announced that we are now like sunsetting the plugin version, the free version, and moving forward on with only this standalone solution. So this is kind of the history in short. So what is the tool itself? The DCM is, I call it a toolkit, but some might say it's just a linter. I kind of disagree with it because it does more than linter. but for simplicity, we can call it a linter. Just it's a linter that helps you find the issues in your code and find unused code, unused files, unused localization, the parameters that are unnecessary nullable, etc. So it helps you actually reduce the number of bugs in your code, reduce the time you spend on code reviews with your colleagues, discussing like different style issues or bugs that your PPR has, and all, or at least most of the, I guess there are like 2 rules that DCM provides that then appeared in the standard Dart analyzer. But most of the rules, I guess it's like 180 now, that DCM provides, they all custom. They're not available via the Dart analyzer or linter. They are they're like added by us, and you cannot find them anywhere else. They are like different. There are different rules. There are rules that help you find issues, like if you compare different types that don't overlap in the hierarchy model with each other. The standard analyzer and the linter won't tell you that you like doing this wrong, but the DCM can spot it and say, okay, this is check is never will happen. It will never happen. So you need to either rewrite it or remove it. And there are like style issues, style issues like trailing commas that then appeared in the Dart analyzer like a year after DCM had it. And like trailing commas, like the order of arguments, and a lot. There are a lot of them, but it's like the smallest overview. Another part of DCM is the commands. As I mentioned, you can check via CLI that some code is unused. You can run it on a single project or from a monorepository root to check like the whole project at once, which code is not referenced, not used. It can be like class declarations or more smaller parts like fields, methods, etc. So it helps you reduce the stack depth because basically you support the dead code. You need to migrate it to each new version of the language. Especially it was very problematic when you had like to migrate from null safety from before null safety to null safety, because then you needed to support the code that's potentially useless. You needed to migrate it. So it's just useless work that you could easily avoid just removing this code. And more importantly, that the compiler itself, when you compile the app, it can optimize and remove some of this code, but not all of it. So it's also better not to give it to the compiler, but also remove it from your code base completely, because it can not all of it can be removed. Plus, again, people you work with might think that this code is used, might copy its style or etc. So again, it's just a burden that you would likely to avoid. So DCM helps you find that. Same with unused files, unused localization. I think you just reduce the bundle size, you reduce the things that you don't need. So just remove and some of them can help. DCM also provides the commands to find unused dependencies like dev dependencies or like regular dependencies, which of them are under promoted, over promoted, etc. So you can just by finding unused code, unused files, you can find unused dependencies, and it's like it helps you remove the things you don't need, basically. So I guess that's like the overview of what tool can do. But before we started, you mentioned like things DCM fix, Dart fix. So DCM basically, not aside from the issues, style issues, and warnings, it also provides you a way to remove things that you can remove or fix things you can fix. It can be done via code actions in the IDE, IntelliJ, or VS Code, or with a command which is named closely to what Dart provides, just for simplicity. People can understand that they do kind of the same, but DCM fix works only for DCM issues, and Dart fix works only for Dart issues. So you can also fix all DCM, not all fixable, because there are some issues that you cannot fix because they require a choice like, is it good or bad? Should it be kept or removed? So some of them require a choice, and in this case, DCM cannot make a decision for you. And these issues are usually not fixable, but other issues are fixable, like trailing commas, etc. So DCM Fix helps you to apply fixes all over your code base in one go. And it's also possible to apply fixes on IDE like Safe. And it's also possible not to just fix issues, but remove unused code, remove files, remove dependencies, fix with DCM Fix as well. So you can just run DCM Fix type unused code, and all unused code that DCM finds will be removed from your project, like in one go. Okay, that's, I guess, the overview of DCM and what it does. And maybe you want to ask something, or I can go why we decided to sunset the free version and keep the paid one only.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to go a little bit more into DCM exactly because you used the word static code analysis. To me, that's more like kind of like a type checking thing. That's what I understand, but it's not, right? So because I always hear about that when I listen to like C, C++, they talk about static code analysis, make sure that you have safe code. It's not quite the same, right? Or is it the same?
Static analysis is just the category of tools. It's just that they analyze the code, they build an IST, that they create a model of your code. Static analysis in general is that tooling that it called static because it works it works before the runtime. So you don't need to run the code. You just parse it, analyze it before it even goes live, and checks the issues that can be checked in I don't know how non-runtime way, not in runtime. Okay, statically. Yeah, I guess this is how it gets.
So it would go through the code, tokenize it, kind of run through some scenarios, see where things may go wrong, or there where things could be
Yes.
better, and it gives you analysis.
Create a type model, yes, which object has which type, methods, fields available, etc. How it matches, yes. And DCM indeed have the type checker also, because again I mentioned that we can highlight things when like is wrongly used, as is wrongly used. This is only available because the type checking is available. Yeah, you cannot do it without type checking.
I mean, some of these are quite interesting. I was just looking at some of the rules that, I mean, what's cool is that you can turn off and on any rule. Is that right?
Yes.
So in case maybe, okay. Now, like, I'm just looking at one of these rules, like the first one, you have arguments ordering. Now, I'm kind of curious because it looks okay, what was actually bad, but according to the lint, it wouldn't be bad, right? So you have age, surname, and name. But you're saying it's better to do name, surname than age. Is it because it matches up with the argument order that you defined within?
Yeah, the core idea of DCM that each rule is configurable. The configurability level is different, but for example, for argument ordering, you can choose an order you want, I think. Or at least or maybe it's for member ordering you can choose, but for argument ordering, okay, I remember. For argument ordering, it matches the order of definition. So you have a function and then like the parameters in a certain order. Okay, this one is not configurable. Not that flexible as member ordering, because member ordering you can order like fields, methods, like how you want. This arguments ordering, it matches the order of definition and then suggests you to match it on the invocation, so you can like easily see which one goes where and etc. So I guess this one works that way. Yeah, but the idea that rules in DCM are configurable, it's like the core, one of the core differences from the Dart analyzer, because Dart analyzer provides you the like hard-coded behavior for each rule, but in some rules DCM the DCM provides can be configured. They are marked. There is a gear icon in the docs, and the fixable they're marked with the like tool emoji.
And you also have some Flutter specific ones. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, Flutter specific, package specific, we have rules for provider package, for Flame, for block, etc. And I also intend to expand this list to other packages with time. So yeah, these rules are also useful. The Dart linter is Dart analyzer and linter are not providing rules for packages, so this is like a great opportunity for DCM also to cover these cases.
Now, I do have a question though too, because I see you have some rules for Angular, but Angular is kind of, I think it's been dropped, right?
Um, as a person who worked on with Dart Angular, yes, again, as I mentioned, the Dart Angular is still used by Rike, I think, and the tool was created at Rike. So yes, one of the first tools was for Dart Angular 2 that we created. So yeah, and they just exist from this time, but we don't really support or like improve them anyhow. They just exist. And yeah, they are for Dart Angular, yes.
Well, it's good to kind of support it, but it's also interesting. So you also have other metrics, right? So
Mhm.
so does this spit out different kinds of formats? So like maybe a JSON one that's easy for us to ingest with a service, and also maybe a PDF or HTML version for all the metrics, the code metrics.
So the answering your previous about the question, just for to keep the conversation. About Dart Angular. The Dart Angular is exactly deprecated, not deprecated as I understand. They took the development of the framework like internally, so it's now supported and developed internally in Google at Google. But the open source version is not. I think it was forked by the community and is developed some maybe supported or developed by, but I didn't check for a long time. So as I understand, you're right. The Angular is kind of, in a sunsetting way, and this was actually one of the reasons Ripe decided to go from Dart Angular to TypeScript and React because of that. So yeah, sorry. Getting back to metrics. Yes, you as at least like all of the commands you see, like analyze, calculate metrics, dependencies, etc. All of them support, I think, at least two formats. It's console and JSON, but some of them, like calculate metrics or analyze, support additional formats. For example, it's check style, it's GitLab format. I think check style at GitLab is same, but a little bit different. It's GitHub, and it's for metrics. It's also an HTML report. You can generate a full project HTML report, seeing which metrics were like deviate from the like normal values, and you can see like the whole picture of your project. For example, which classes or folders, which files or folders have like increased widgets nesting, for example, or like too many lines, or too like higher complexity, for example. Yeah, it's all can be also viewed in HTML format, but no PDF, at least for now, because honestly, no one ever like asked for a PDF format, so I guess it's why it's not supported. That's that simple.
Yeah, I mean, I find it interesting because usually so many people want to have a PDF. At least like upper management, they usually want to have like a PDF to print or to look at, rather than I guess developers don't really care about that. They rather have something they can digest into a something that they can analyze later on or something like that.
Maybe, but honestly, I haven't heard any haven't seen any feature requests about that. So maybe, but if people like say they need that, I will be happy to add it. No, there is no problem.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pretty interesting stuff you have in here, so I find it to be quite interesting. And you have a huge amount of companies that you're looking at. Even Google themselves, you're saying is actually using this.
Yes, the Google, two teams at Google, the DevTools team and the Web Dev team, I think they use DCM, and they have it on CI and in like IDE integrations. Yes. So they use both the IDE plugin and the CI integration. Yeah.
Oh, that's a pretty big customer to have Google, the people who created this language, to actually use your tool, right?
Yeah. And I think they also quite enjoyed the check unused code command, because I was like experimenting with it on the DevTools repository, and it found like, I think 1500 of lines, like 1500 lines of unused code, which is, I think, is a lot. And in a recent, like one of the issues or PRs I was mentioned, and I ran it again with the different flags, and there are more code. So I will soon create another PR to help them remove more unused code from the repo. So yeah, these things are really like can like sum up, with time, especially with different developers working on project, things like unused code really get just grow and grow, and yeah, it's nice to have a tool to remove it like completely and never think about it.
Yeah, I did want to go over like the people working on this tool. It's not very many, right? It's just like less than 5 working on DCM.
It's currently it's me alone.
You alone? Okay. Well, that is less than 5.
It's
But
less
yeah,
than 5. Yeah, it's true.
because when I read like, okay, so obviously what we're here for is about sunsetting the release, and you go into the background of people working on it,
hmm
and I mean I saw the number here, around 1.5 people. I think I saw.
yes. I can like explain it. So as I mentioned, there are two people who founded the tool. Like we both work at Rike, but another person, he's also Dmitry. It's easier for you can just say Dmitry, and yeah. And I'm not sure what the first letter in DCM stands for. Maybe it's Dmitry. Okay, but he's also Dmitry. He has like a regular job as a team lead, and he don't have like much time to spend on the tool, so he helps like occasionally. And I also requested, or not request, I also hired a designer to help me develop a site. The only thing that is not made by me in DCM, it's like the design of website. So I hired a designer, and I like rarely ask different people like to with some advice, etc. So that's why I guess just said that it's like 1.5, because if I'm being honest, it's not just me like only. There are some other people helping, but they are not helping, full time. They are not fully involved in the development, etc. They just, but the most impact is of this .5 is from the another person who started the tool initially.
Well, but what I did want to kind of go back more into this. So it's mostly you, but you did have some people contributing. But it's pretty interesting. The stat is less than 1% of active users. Like, how
Yeah.
many active users did you have, and how do you actually measure that?
Um, it's an interesting question in terms of like how to measure it properly. But like a few months ago, I added an anonymous analytics just to see how many like people out there use the tool, because pub is really bad about the statistics. It shows you very abstract, very random numbers about the popularity, which first of all, they can be like really easily hijacked if you if you have a package that is very popular, and you add that can be used as a dependency, and you add your package as a dev dependency to this package. Guess what will happen to the popularity of this dev dependency? It will match the popularity of the package, of the main package. So this is not the statistics. At least I've seen it myself when clearly, I'm not sure that it works that way exactly, but at least I've seen it. So I maybe the people from who develop pop will disagree and say it's not true, but at least what I've seen, it kind of matches what I just mentioned. So let's first, pop provides you really bad statistics. Not the statistics you cannot use and to understand the audience, the number of people, etc., the number of projects, etc. So I decided just to have a rough number based on the like unique ID, not anyhow linked to a person, just sending to the analytics and seeing how many people out there. So and the number of like active users was around like 1,200, something like that. So, but it's important to say that I know a lot of people who stopped using DCM because of the performance issues, and these issues are not like originally from DCM, it's from the API, the plugins API that DCM uses. So, I mean, I know like a lot of people, a lot of companies I guess it's like a relatively big number to the number I got from the users. So that's why I think that's why I mentioned that the number is like, if we count the overall number of people who use DCM in future and decided not to, and people the number I got, so this will be like the pretty close to what I said in the article. And another important thing that I said about the contributors, that I don't count the people who changed the doc, like the one letter in the doc as in this number. I only counted people who like brought something more meaningful. Let's say that I don't want to offend anyone who contributes fixing typos, etc. It's not about that. It's about that if we start calculating this as a same contribution as a person who spent like hours developing the piece of code to implement to add to the tool, that would be kind of not fair. So I only counted in this number people who contributed this code. Yeah, because sorry, but yeah, fixing docs won't help. Well, don't help the project in the long term.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting that people stopped using the project because it became slow rather than trying to actually help and make it better, right?
That's the reality. That's the reality we live in, I would say. And even with this deprecation, a lot of people are. I've seen some controversial comments like, "I like the tool. It helps me a lot, but I don't want to pay for it." So it just makes me, wonder that those people don't understand how it works. That some people like me, like myself, I would say, like myself, they develop this tool in free time, in their free time, and it's it's not. I wouldn't say it's the word unfair, because I think it's like not applicable in this context. But it's kind of strange to expect that people will be, continuously giving their time for free, and you will be able to benefit from what they do without giving anything back. Because my whole idea of the sunset is also that a lot of people use the tool, but a very small number actually tries to give back to the community, because I mean, to the tool, to the community itself. So they have a very strange position when everything that they have is kind of free, but with no like idea that, hey, maybe I need to also give something back to things I use, so they can be better, can become better, can, I don't know, can continue existing, etc. So it's kind of, one-sided, not flow, but it's kind of one-sided. I don't think it's a long-term good situation.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like I think all of us were at some point kind of have the same mindset where something was useful, but you felt like paying was. I'm not sure how to say it. It's like you didn't want to cheat the person, but like you just didn't feel like paying. I don't know how to describe that. Maybe you were not, but for me, I just try not to pay for anything for a long time when I was young. But then as I'm older, as I have more money, and as I think about it, and I think, okay, time is money. I'm actually saving time, and I find this tool useful, so therefore I will pay for it. Right? It's kind of something that comes in time, right?
Yes, I agree with you here, and I think that's the main like idea behind DCM. That DCM saves you time, saves your company time, and that's then a small part of this time is the price for the subscription, and it also it's not just the subscription for a tool that is kind of in the free state. It's also the resources DCM needs to grow, to have new features, to have like a more people working on it, so that it will become better and better. So it's for me, I think it's, as I also stated in the article, that it's kind of, if people really think that their time is valuable, and DCM helps reduce all this unnecessary, interactions when you have a bug that goes into production. You need to fix these bugs and bug and redeploy it. And if you have like a quality assurance people, you have like a larger flow. When you lose a lot of time just because um, a problem problems that might have been fixed by DCM got into production. So DCM saves this time, and if you think it's worth it, then it's kind of a win-win. We try to give you the best tool, you save time from this tool. So I guess it's like the whole idea. And I also maybe can say that DCM is kind of productivity tool. It just helps you spend less time on things you don't want to spend time on. It's usually how it works.
I mean, like maybe you can be more specific, right? We just keep saying that it's gonna save you time, it's gonna save you time, but like, how would it save me time? Is it saving time by like finding formatting issues, by finding bugs, or even preventing bugs? Like what, like because we keep saying it's gonna save you time, right? But maybe we can be more specific about in what way.
I mean, for example, you have again this problem with type matching. For example, you have a type is check that is assertion, I think how it's called, is check that is never gonna happen, but it's important for your business logic. For example, you deploy it and this code never works. You have your flow broken. For example, you either need to redeploy it with a fix, or you need you need to fix it somehow, right? So you need to spend time, you need to identify what is the problem, where it is in your code base. You need to create a fix, you need to deploy this fix, and you need to wait the whole process of the or the App Store or Google Play review, right? You need to deploy to your users. Users need to get the code, and they need to open a new version. So it's like a lot of steps that can be saved just because you have a tool that shows you, okay, this code is unreachable. This code is has a potential error that can appear in this case. I mean, we can go rule by rule. There are a lot of rules that highlight you the issues, the performance issues, the issues as with types, etc. So I guess this is like the detailed version of how it saves time. I don't know if I answered your question, but again, it reduces the number of it. And if for example, if we take another side, you have a code review, right? You have colleagues that review your code. For example, you push the pull request with some code, and now your colleagues spend time highlighting issues that you have as common sense issues, right? You discussed, okay, we should do this and not that, okay? And now without the linter, they need to spend time writing your PR comments, fix this, change this to that, right? And all of that can be removed. Not all of it, most of that can be removed if you have a strict linting, because if you don't I would say even if you have a Dart analyzer and DCM combined, you can eliminate most of it, because for example, DCM provides a rule that you can ban specific widgets from the Flutter. If you have a policy that you use some widgets, some of your custom widgets instead of Flutter widgets. Right now, you don't have any static analysis tool that can force you to do that, right? And with DCM, you can mark these widgets as don't use this widget, use that widget, and that's it. You don't need to spend time in your PRs looking for these widgets. It will be automatically highlighted even before the PR is created. So it also saves you time on this communication while people review code. Then it goes back to the reviewer. Reviewer need to fix it. So it's kind of also a slow process, but it works. But it works only for teams. If you are solo developer, if you are doing if you don't have code reviews, etc., you don't have this problem, for example, right? But you still have a problem that your code can have some issues with it, like performance or other issues. So yeah, I hope I answered your question, because if
No,
not,
no, no,
let's.
you did. I mean, I hope that we can convince some people to understand why it's important to work to to look at tools like this and not just see that as, okay, I'm going to spend money on something. Like you need to think about, okay, if I give, you know, one, do I get 5x output? Something like that. You know what I mean? Am I getting a good return on my investment?
Yeah, we have an article. That just covers the return on investment, actually, with DCM, and I think it's 5-member team, but it's also about the company. So for solo developers, it might not be quite as close to the reality, but for the teams, it's usually how it works. Like the article, in my opinion, is very accurate with how it actually is.
Yeah, you do go in here and you break it down. That's quite interesting.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
it's very useful. Yeah. But coming back, like I think we went over DCM quite well. I mean, seems pretty good. I mean, the fact that, like I said, like you said, the people at Google are using it, that makes it very attractive to me. And I do like the idea of the dead code elimination, right? Finding code that is in your project and no longer being referenced.
Mhm.
Man, that is super useful because like I hate having extra code in my
Yeah.
stuff that I'm not going to use.
I share this idea, and the APRs I personally like the most is when you remove code. Like not when you add a feature. For me, it's like, okay, this chunk of code can be finally removed, so let's do that, and our code base will be like lighter. It's like the best PRs in my opinion.
Well, I mean, not even that. Like if you can remove code and add features, that's even better,
Yeah.
which is possible, right? You can definitely make more code more concise.
Yes.
But like coming back to like the main topic about, the recent news that you have, well, it's pretty recent, June 6th. It's of course it's like what said I can't do math right
2
now.
weeks.
2 weeks ago. Yeah, my math is so bad. End of day over here. So you're pulling away the free version, right? I mean, was that a very difficult thought process to have, or was it just like, no, this is no brainer? I mean, we got to do this.
It was difficult, I would say. I initially like wanted to avoid it, but as time so the Teams version. So first of all, the versions, the plugin version and the Teams version, they are different. So the plugin version is the version that uses the Analyzer API and is built on top of it and can be connected to the Analyzer as a plugin, right? You just write in your analysis options file, you write the Analyzer plugins Dart code metrics, and it works. It's not integrated into the Dart analysis, it's not integrated into Dart fix. It's just like a IDE integration. And then we had like the CLI additionally written that you can also run like Dart code metrics, analyze, etc. So this is one version. The Teams version is another version. It's a standalone. It behaves and looks more like a Dart executable itself. We have separate the IDE integrations, VS Code integration, PNG integrations. They all like handwritten, and the executable is compiled and works again close to Dart, what Dart provides. And the code bases for these versions are different. In fact, the Teams version even has the analyzer like forked and fixed to allow some features that DCM provides. And with time, it became clear that supporting those two versions at this moment, I am like no longer capable of, because again, all my focus is on the teams to make teams better, to unblock features, to add new features, to help users, etc. But with plugin, it still exists. It still brings problems to people, like something doesn't work with outside of our scope with the plugins, they leak, or like the IDE doesn't show issues somehow. So it also like was taking a lot of my attention. So I decided that the best decision right now, and it's also important to say that the plugins API is also marked experimental by Google. So the future of it is unclear, at least for me. And I'm not sure how it will change in the future. Maybe they will decide to kind of remove it completely or rework it the way that DCM won't be able to. So I don't know. I still don't. I don't know how it will be changed. But for me, all these problems, all this uncertainty that it takes time was enough to say, and that actually people who use it, they usually don't really into contributing to the project, right? So this all kind of summed up for me that this version should be removed, should be deprecated and forgotten, let's say that, and the Teams version should be the main version, maybe with a free version somewhere in the future. No like date commitment yet, but maybe, right? But this version should become the main version and be the main focus, because again, supporting two versions is a hard thing. And there were like other problems, like the documentation was separated for the free and for the teams. There were lots of issues, right? With this like two versions existing. So that's, I guess, the main contributors to that decision. And answering your question, no, it was not an easy one. I really like thought about it for a long period of time, but in the end, the most important idea that I actually want the project to like thrive. I want it to be the greatest version it can be, and people usually, and as I mentioned before, a lot of people say that their main problem is that project is paid. Sorry, but I believe if the project just if I stopped supporting the project, those people will just will be like they would just complain for some time and then moved on. They don't really care about the project existing, the project like striving, right? They don't care. At least that's what I see and what I feel from the interactions with people on on Reddit, on other social media who say that the project with paid is bad, for example, right? They're not really into the making the project thriving, right? So this is my main goal, and I guess if and I don't really think that there are other options if this is needed. If this is what is needed to be done for the project to thrive, I guess I will take this action too. So it was taken, and I guess on July 16th, the free version will be discontinued completely.
Now, is it going to stay up there but just not supported, or are you going to try to rip it out of any location to download, or what's kind of the plan?
No, I think it will. I mean, if you look at it from like the outside view, there are no major language releases close to the deprecation date. There is no strict policies. There is no strict like licensing, etc. So I'm doing it really in easy mode for people to continue to use it. There is no like deadline, hard deadline to do something with it. It's, let's say, it's not strict. It's not like pushing. It's not like you can do it in your own pace, right? But yes, the version won't be supported. It will be, I guess, available on pub for some time before the version constraints you won't be able to use it because of the version constraints. But yeah, I think it will just, because another option was to make it an abandonware, right? When it exists, but it's not support. You see, okay, it's present, you can download it, but it don't work. Like it doesn't work at all. And the GitHub repo is not updated, etc. So I decided that I want to be transparent with my users and to say that, okay, this project won't become an abandonware. We are clearly saying that we are deprecating it, we discontinue it. So any usage after this time of discontinuation is like your own responsibility. If something breaks, it's your problem now. So just like take it clearly from us that we are not going to support it anymore. So yeah, I decided that it's a better decision than just it becoming slowly an abandonware.
Now, have you actually made any sales since this decision? Like, has there been people who actually did convert from a free user to a paid user?
I'm talking with several companies, yes. And yeah, the sale, yes, even the individual, because DCM teams is actually mostly target the teams, not the individuals one, but even the individual developers converted from the free version to the paid one.
Now, do you predict that you're going to be in a good state? Like, I'm trying to think, how do I ask this one? Do you have enough? Let's say with this, are you selling enough licenses now to be able to live from this project, or are you still looking for more? Obviously, for
I
more
mean, if
subscriptions
you're
from
talking
people.
about business, you're still looking for more, right? You can just say, okay, this is enough. I'm not looking for more sales right now.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Fair enough. Question.
You're always looking for more. So there is no like question asked about that.
Sure, but I guess I could. My question is more like, is there enough license for you to survive at least for now, or you're still like, like I'm like, are you self-sustaining? I guess like the question could be.
I cannot call DCM self-sustaining right now. definitely not there yet, but let's see how it goes.
I mean, do you have like a prediction for if you will be, or is there? Because usually you have like a sales prediction, right? Like, okay, based on amount of licenses sold, we're like going to reach our target around X amount of time, or you don't really know. You don't really have that kind of foresight.
I don't have this prediction because I'm I don't think it's actually predictable that way because I'm talking with teams, with companies, and there is no like, at least in my opinion, it's hardly predictable because some companies need more time to test your version. For example, Google, they took one trial, then they get a month off, then they took another trial, and then they finally decided, okay, we are doing this. So, and with this like differences that different companies have, I think at least at this stage, because I'm doing it like only for 6 months now, it's hardly predictable that. Plus, you need to also take into consideration that DCM is per seat. So, for example, if a company is small, like 5 developers, like 6 developers, for example, I need X number of. But if the company is like 25 developers, 30 developers, like 40 developers, right? It's a different number of companies I need to like to get to a certain point, right? So it also kind of gets into the equation, and for me, at least at this stage, it's really hard to predict, the exact date. It might happen this time if the companies will be this number of developers and like this number of companies. So I guess it's just hard to predict.
So then you have some kind of volume pricing where you're saying like if you have like 20 developers, it's going to be X amount per seat.
Yes. The first tier is Teams tier. It's like from 5 to 30. The price is like fixed just per developer. It's fixed. But then after 30, it transforms into enterprise tier, and the price is negotiable. Let's say that.
Okay. Yeah, because you were saying like you're talking to these companies. I'm thinking to myself like, what is there to talk about? Is it that you're negotiating the sales price, or you're negotiating like the what do you call it? The like you said, they have to try it, see if it works, and then try to make it work in their CI. You know what I mean? Like there's a process, like you said, to make the new version to
Yeah,
work.
yeah. It's usually they need to try it. They need to see that, for example, if they were a plugin users, they need to see that it's different, it's better, it solves more problems, for example, or it's better in the performance part, etc. Or if they're a newcomer, they need to see that it actually highlights the issues, that it's integrated into all their workflow, that the developers of the team can install it, use it, etc. So they need to kind of see that it works for them. Let's say that.
Okay, yeah, that totally makes sense to me. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have any more questions. I mean, is there something that you think people need to know about DCM, or maybe just a shout out that they should come try out DCM and see if it works for them, etc.
Um, the transition DCM has right now is that because of so DCM was initially an open source project, right? Because right now it's not. The Teams version is not open source, and I don't think that I will open source it. The DCM was an open source project, but like, and I put like several thousands of my hours of like my free hours into it, into the open source version, and this transition happens mostly because the open source without like a huge number of contributors is actually, I don't know if it's how it can be, how it can survive this time, right? So if you have a small number of contributors, if something happens to each one of them, the project can just disappear without any like letter. And the as the idea that I like the idea that I like, have now, that it's better to try to transform your project into a paid one with a potential future than see how this time like the number of people who help you with it like only declines, and just to see how it just slowly can die in your hand. It comes to a situation where it's either you do something or the project just stays the way it is, and no one is going to fix and help with it. So my main message would be if the people that use other open source projects, especially to the companies that use other open source projects, that they actually ask themselves if they can help these projects, not just by contributions, but also financially, because there are the people that work on the open source project, they usually put their soul into them, and they actually can make the projects usually a lot better if they had like more time. And the only reason, the only way for them to have more time is that some of this time will be covered by sponsorships or donations or etc. So if you are a company and you use some projects and you have a budget to help them, I would actually just say, guys, we need support. We need support for this. This project needs to be supported. Otherwise, there is a high chance that the people will just, give up at some point, and you will need to re-implement things yourself, like fork, support these things, etc. So it's better for you it's even better for you now to just consider supporting them than ending up in a situation where you need to fork something and support it yourself, like spending more time and more resources on them. So my first message would be that if you have an opportunity, like available resources to support open source projects, please do it, because they actually need it. Even though it might not be clear, they need it. Usually, like all of them need it. It can be like sponsorship again, author sponsorship, etc. So anything. Yeah, and second thing that I want to say is that if someone is really interested in DCM, you can always like DM me on Twitter or the Discord, email, etc. So I'm always ready to give you like a trial or like show you around what features it has and how like to get started, etc. So, and to the teams that struggle with like having conversations about code style, they spend a lot of time on these conversations. They have a high number of bugs, etc. I just encourage you to try DCM, because I believe that it can help you reduce the number of these conversations, reduce the number of bugs, and like just create a more like better working code, a better product to your users with less bugs, etc. So just if you have these problems, it's worth trying. And I honestly haven't on a scale, I haven't seen a team that doesn't have these problems. They usually have them like on a different level. Let's say that it depends on how old the project, how like big this project, and how many people worked on this project. Because like the longer people stay, the more consistent it becomes, etc. So there are a lot of like variables there, but in the end, most of the like medium to large project have these problems. So yeah, I encourage you to try, and maybe you'll find that DCM works for you well, and I hope so.
Well, that's good to hear that people can reach out to you and talk to you about trying it out, right, to see if it's good for them. That's good.
Yeah.
And since you mentioned it, like, what is the best way to actually get a hold of you if they do want to take you up on this offer?
Right now I would say it's emailing. It's the one of the way. It's just info at dcm.dev. I will usually respond in like in few hours also. Or it's Discord. DCM Discord is available. The invite link, I think, is available on our website. You can just see it in the header of the website. And the third option is Twitter. You can find me on Twitter. It's like @_incendial, and you can DM me and I will reply most likely.
And with that, thank you for coming on and talking about DCM. First time I heard about it, I'll have to give it a try. Maybe I'll ask you for a free trial to see how it goes. I'm kind of curious.
Sure, I'm ready to give it to you anytime you need it. Yeah, and actually, you asked me before the interview, like you had a question about the value. So for you personally, did you get the answer? Is it valuable? Does it look valuable for you, or?
Yeah, I mean, we are running a linter on our code. I need to take a look because somebody else configured a linter. I just get pushed and then I see what comes back. So I haven't seen exactly what we're using. but I think it is some Flutter linter. I can't
Mhm.
remember which one now. Flutter analyzer, like you said. So I'd be curious to see the two, see which one, how they work together. And yeah, I mean, I just need to see for myself
Okay.
because I never looked really deeply at the analyzer. Usually, I let somebody else handle this kind of stuff for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Just follow the rules as it complains to me.
Yeah, I hope you will find it useful. Yeah, but I'm ready to give you the trial as well. Okay, that's nice.
All right. And with that, thank you for coming on, and hopefully have you back on again in the future.
Thank you for inviting, and it was nice discussing these things.